Well, the battle between Texas Democrats and the Texas House continues. One more day remains before lawmakers meet to make up quorum in Austin. The Texas House reconvened Tuesday afternoon in Austin after Democratic lawmakers fled the state in an effort to block a redistricting vote. Democratic lawmakers were not in attendance, making it the second day in a row the House hasn't met a quorum. The House is going to meet again on Friday in an attempt to make one. Abbott on Monday ordered the civil arrest of Democratic lawmakers who fled the state. By Wednesday, Senator John Cornyn said that FBI Director Kash Patel responded to his request to assist state and local law enforcement in locating the runaway Texas House Democrats and investigate potential offenses. Well, and for more on this, here is George King for the Vice Chair Democrats Abroad UK. Glad to have you. Well, I don't know why I see you laughing. I don't know why you're laughing, but I hope I got that. Glad to have you.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, glad to have you join us. Well, the Republican proposed map redistricting could create up to 5 additional GOP seats. What's the implication of this for midterm elections?
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for addressing this really important topic. I should explain for those viewers of yours that don't know who Democrats Abroad is. We are actually an official wing of the Democratic Party outside the U.S., and we spend most of our time trying to make sure that Americans can get their votes counted, can register to vote and get their votes counted in states all around the country. So this event is a particularly painful one to see this overt action to try and distort voting in the U.S. To answer your question directly, what has happened is quite weirdly, this didn't come from the Texas Republicans. The Texas Republicans and the Democrat Republicans weren't at each other's throats on this issue until Trump intervened, whispered in the ears of the Republicans, as he's been doing on so many issues all around the country, trying to bend individuals to act in his will. And this is another example of this. So in an attempt to not lose control of the House in the midterm elections next year, he's trying to rig the system. And this is frankly an extension of what we've been seeing for many, many years, where Republicans are losing the battle in the ballot box and instead are trying to change the rules, trying to enact in one form of voter suppression after another. In this case, they're trying to draw crazy lines around the state to intentionally to disenfranchise Texas voters and to try and create these sort of fictional new seats to keep control of the House.
Governor Greg Abbott says when the Dem lawmakers come back to the state, they will be arrested. Does he have the power to do that?
Well, this is interesting. So Texas law does allow for quorum breaking. This is something that is a legal action in Texas. This actually happened before. This happened in 2021, and a number of people decamped to Washington, D.C. in that case. And the Texas Supreme Court then also ruled that while quorum breakers have a legal right to break quorum, the quorum majority does have a legal right to try and get them back. So some of this back and forth is legitimate. It's within the rules of what Texas allows. What I've heard, what I've read, I'm not a Texas expert, is that these arrests are not criminal or civil charges of any kind. They're part of this legal allowed game within Texas for a minority to break quorum and for a majority to try and force them back. But you mentioned reaching out to the FBI. That's completely out of scope. The FBI has no jurisdiction here. The idea that you're going to do anything is going to be interesting. But we've seen over and over again that the idea of rule of law, the idea of checks and balances, is something that is being systematically overlooked, destroyed, and ignored. So it's my will by any means possible until and unless someone stops me, whether that's a court or something else.
Mention the Supreme Court. Could you mention that the Supreme Court has asked, well, let's take this first. While Abbott asked the state Supreme Court to remove Jinwoo from office for what he calls dereliction of duty, Wu accuses Abbott of silencing his dissent.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, Gene Wu is the Democrat, the senior Democrat involved in all this. And I think his action in leading the Democrats in Texas is a courageous one. Part of the problem we have had as a Democratic Party, some have said, is that we haven't done enough to stand up to some of the most extreme behavior we have ever seen, things that go beyond decorum, things that go beyond normal procedures, and then things that are violating actual law. There's been a lot written and said that, you know, we want to see, Americans want to see the Democrats stand up more aggressively to this egregious behavior. And Gene Wu is doing that. And I think that's what his statement was reflecting.
Still on the Supreme Court, the court has asked Wu to respond by Friday, 5 p.m. Central Time, when Abbott tries again to get, I mean, that's tomorrow, when he tries again to get a quorum. What are your expectations?
Well, I'll tell you my hope. My hope is that there's no capitulation here, and I don't expect that to happen. In fact, I'm well aware that Americans in general, and certainly Democrats in particular, are rallying around what Gene Wu and the Texas Democrats are doing to make sure that this overt, intentional act, yet again, to subvert our democracy is not successful. And so whatever support is needed to help back that, I think that is going to be forthcoming. So I guess the direct answer to your question is, I think we will not see a quorum once again. We will see all these things play out in some Texas courts. I have no idea what the FBI involvement is supposed to mean, but this standoff is far from over. The special session has been going on since the 21st of July, if I'm correct. So at some point, either the special session has to end, or maybe this attempt needs to simply be rescinded.
How long can the lawmakers, Democratic lawmakers, stay away?
Well, I guess that's a matter of resources, which I think a lot of us are willing to make sure they have at their disposal. There's some personal hardship about being out of the state and away from families and other types of disruption. But my hope and expectation is that they will stay away as long as is required to make sure that this completely unethical and overt attempt to redraw the lines in this artificially favorable way doesn't succeed. And that might be because they withdraw that proposal, or it might be that the clock runs out on the special session. But one way or another, my expectation is that Wu and the rest of the Democrats will stand their ground on behalf of the Texas Democrats and Texas in general, and democracy in general.
What are you hearing about threats to the lives of these Democrats? Governor Pritzker has intervened. What are you hearing about threats to their lives?
Well, to be honest, I'm not directly. While I try and have a finger on the pulse of a lot of this stuff, I probably am not the best person to give you a good response to that. But what we are seeing is several things that maybe are worth sharing. We are seeing, early rumblings in other states about trying to follow the Texas precedent, South Carolina being one of them. And this is not allowed, by the way, in South Carolina. And part of the reason that standing the ground here is so important is to make sure that we don't see other Republican states try and follow suit. So this is not just about Texas, and it's not just about democracy in some vague general sense. There are more there are more Republican-controlled state legislatures than there are Democratic ones, and it's important to make sure that this type of behavior is not something that starts to pick up any momentum anywhere else and gets stopped right here, right now.
Talking about behavior, let me quote Wu. He said this: "Let me be unequivocal about my actions and my duty. When a governor conspires with a disgraced president to ram through a racist, gerrymandered map, my constitutional duty is not to be a willing participant. What is your sense of this statement by Wu?
I think I'm glad you read that because I'm not sure everyone saw that. And I think that encapsulates the essence of the issue extremely well. So it's not good enough to just say that you were there and didn't do anything about it. It's a bit like what we've seen in so many other parts of history where someone says, well, it wasn't up to me. I couldn't do anything. Oh, well, but that's not really the case. We all have a choice to make. We all have options and we have decisions that we need to live with. And I think what Gene Wu is saying in that statement is to simply show up and let this happen when we know it is categorically wrong is not good enough. And so while this is not an unprecedented step, it's an extraordinary one to ensure that you're not just passively allowing something to transpire that absolutely should not be allowed to transpire.
I don't know whether you're aware of what Trump posted on his Truth Social. If you're aware, I want to ask you your take on he's talking about highly accurate census. He posted this on his Truth Social and how he wants it to affect redistricting. This challenge or this breakback to that is going on in Texas.
I can't tell if you're playing a clip or you were going to read that out.
Yeah, I mean, he posted on his Truth Social. Social. He said he wants to. How did he say it? He says he wants a new and highly accurate census. And it's supposed to, in a way, affect this redistricting.
Yeah.
What do you make?
So just for some context, again, not everyone listening and watching probably knows all the nuances of U.S. politics. Well, I certainly don't know all of it either. But what I think they're generally referring to and what Trump is referring to is that this process of redistricting is not something you're allowed to do just whenever you feel like it, or more accurately, whenever you happen to get into power and then you get to redraw the lines. The redistricting process is supposed to be joined up with the census taking process. So which only happens episodically, usually every 10 years in general. So when you have the accurate information from a newly done census, and so you see population growth and population changes, the concept of redistricting is supposed to be a fair process to reflect actual changes in the demographic of your state. It's not supposed to be a politicized process that you enact whenever you think it's in your benefit, especially a year before an election with no recent census data to simply try and gain political advantage. And so Trump's comment there seems to be, and it is a very dangerous game to try and pretend we know what Trump is saying. He says one thing and then he says something else and then he does something else. And so for anyone to try and explain what Trump actually means, good luck. But what I presume he's trying to convey there is, fine, if the objection is you can't redistrict without a census, then go do a very highly accurate census so that we can redistrict. I assume that's what he's trying to tie together. And it's more of the usual Trumpian nonsense that we see spewing out of him all the time.
All right, George King for the Vice Chair Democrats Abroad, UK. We'll leave it there for now. Thank you for being on the program.
Thank you very much. Great talking to you.
All right.